The message hit like a quiet explosion in my chest, the kind that doesn't make noise but leaves everything inside you shattered. My wife, Rachel, had just texted me, "Late dinner with clients, don't wait up." Simple, casual, ordinary, but something in those words felt colder than usual, like a door softly closing for the last time. My fingers hovered over the screen, my heart pounding with a truth I had been trying to ignore for weeks. And then, without overthinking, I typed the words that would change everything. "Tell Chris I want my shirt back. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength it takes to face painful truths, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and reaching hearts that need them most." I still remember how it all started, back in a quiet neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio, where life felt predictable in the best way. Rachel and I had built something real over the years. Sunday breakfasts, late-night talks about dreams, and small inside jokes that only we understood. I was never the perfect husband, but I tried. I worked long hours as a project manager, thinking providing stability was enough. Somewhere along the way, I stopped noticing the silence growing between us. At first, the signs were small. Rachel began dressing differently, more carefully, like she was trying to impress someone. She laughed at her phone more often, her eyes lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in months. When I asked, she brushed it off, saying work had just gotten more exciting. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. But then came the late nights, the urgent meetings, the sudden need for privacy, and the way she would turn her phone away from me as if shielding a secret she didn't want me to see. Each moment planted a seed of doubt, and those seeds quickly grew into something heavy and suffocating. Still, I stayed quiet, maybe out of fear, maybe out of denial, because confronting the truth meant risking everything we had built. It meant admitting that love, the thing I thought was unbreakable, might already be gone. The night I sent that message, I wasn't even sure what I was hoping for. Maybe I wanted her to deny it, to laugh it off, to come home and tell me I was being ridiculous. But deep down I knew, you don't send a message like that unless part of you is ready for the truth. Minutes passed like hours. My phone stayed silent, and that silence spoke louder than anything she could have said. I sat there in the dim light of our living room, surrounded by memories that suddenly felt like they belonged to someone else's life. When Rachel finally came home, it was past midnight. I heard the door open softly, her footsteps hesitant, like she already knew something had changed. I didn't say anything at first. I just looked at her, and in that moment, I saw it clearly, the guilt in her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, the way she avoided my gaze. She didn't need to explain. The truth was already there, hanging between us like a storm waiting to break. She tried, though. She always did. She said it wasn't what I thought, that it just happened, that she didn't mean for it to go this far. Her voice trembled, but her words felt rehearsed, like she had practiced them in her mind long before this night. I listened, not because I believed her, but because I needed to hear it, needed to understand how we had gone from everything to this. Her name was still Rachel, the woman I had loved for years, but in that moment, she felt like a stranger. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing that somewhere along the way, we had both lost each other. I had buried myself in work, convincing myself it was for us, while she had searched for something I wasn't giving her anymore. Neither of us had stopped to fix what was breaking, but betrayal still has a weight that nothing else can match. It changes how you see everything, the past, the present, even yourself. Days turned into weeks, and the house that once felt like a home became a place filled with quiet tension. Rachel tried to make things right. She ended things with Chris, or at least she said she did. She cried, apologized, promised to rebuild what we had lost. And I wanted to believe her. I really did. Because letting go meant accepting that our story had reached its end, and endings are never easy, especially when they come wrapped in regret. But trust, once broken, doesn't come back easily. It lingers in every unanswered question, every late arrival, every moment of silence. It turns love into something fragile, something uncertain. I started to see myself differently too. I realized how much of my identity had been tied to our marriage, how much I had defined myself through us. Without it, I felt lost, like I was standing in the middle of a life I didn't recognize anymore. So I did something I never thought I would do. I stepped away. It wasn't dramatic. There were no shouting matches or slammed doors, just a quiet decision, made in the stillness of a morning where everything felt too heavy to carry anymore. I packed a bag, left a note, and walked out of the house that had once held all my dreams. Starting over wasn't easy. It felt like learning how to breathe again after being underwater for too long. There were nights when the loneliness felt unbearable, when I questioned whether I had made the right choice. But slowly, something began to change. I started focusing on myself in ways I never had before. I reconnected with old friends, found comfort in simple routines, and allowed myself to feel things I had been avoiding for years. Pain, yes, but also hope. Because sometimes, losing something is the only way to find yourself again. Rachel reached out a few times. Her messages were filled with regret, with promises of change. And part of me still cared. Part of me always would. But I had learned something important through all of this. Love isn't just about staying. It's about respect, honesty, and the willingness to protect what you have before it's too late. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Before we reach the end, I want to ask you something personal. If this story is touching your heart, take a moment right now to comment "Stay strong" below. You never know who might read your words and find the courage to keep going. In time, I found peace in ways I never expected. Not the kind that erases the past, but the kind that helps you move forward despite it. I learned to forgive not for Rachel, but for myself. Because holding on to anger only keeps you tied to the pain. I don't know what happened to her after we separated. Maybe she found what she was looking for, or maybe she realized too late what she had lost. But that chapter of my life had closed, and for the first time in a long while, I was ready to write a new one. Life doesn't always go the way we plan. People change, feelings fade, and sometimes, the ones we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. But even in those moments, there is something powerful waiting to be discovered within us, the strength to rise again. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you of your own struggles or gave you a sense of hope, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know, and it helps bring these stories to others who need them. Because at the end of the day, even in heartbreak, there is always a chance for something new.